Welcome to another episode of Asexualize My Asexual Life. This is supposed to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my own asexual life journey, all to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed on YouTube, hit that great big subscribe button right here, right now. Please hit that bell every time I go live right now, post a new video. And if you're on Facebook, because I'm also streaming this to Facebook, don't forget to click the like button on the Asexualize page. That's Asexualize. And don't forget to like the page and follow it, and click under the video to make sure you get updates of every live video I do. So in this video, I want to discuss with you, who do asexuals date? So this was a question I saw in search, and it seems to be one that crops up regularly. So some people might be thinking that because someone's asexual, they don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever, that why would asexuals want to date? Well, asexuals can still want companionship. They can still want to feel close and intimate, whether or not they have sex. You know, if they don't have sex, it doesn't matter. You can still be close and intimate in lots of other ways. And also, you know, they might be romantic in nature, like I am, right? And also, you know, it's just like connection. You know, there's a number of reasons why asexuals would want to date and get into a relationship, because sex is not the be all and end all of a relationship. You don't have to have sex in a relationship for it to be a loving, happy, and healthy relationship. So asexuals can have a date, whatever gender they are attracted to or wish to potentially be in a relationship with, right? So, you know, I'm heteromantic asexual. Hetero means I'm attracted to the opposite gender or sex. I'm female, cis female, so I was, for those who use cis language, I was born female. Those who use trans language, I was assigned female at birth. And basically, so I identify as female, I like being female, and I get attracted to the opposite gender, which is male, right? I get attracted to guys. I particularly get attracted to cis guys, right? So I, you know, would only date guys. I would not date females, for example. But, you know, every asexual is different. Some asexuals are homoromantic asexuals, meaning they're attracted to the same gender or sex romantically. Some asexuals are panromantic, which means that they get attracted to different types of genders. That, you know, it can be multiple genders, such as they could get attracted to non-binary, male, female, gender fluid. You know, they just don't really have a limit, but it doesn't mean to say they get attracted to everyone. And then someone who's biromantic, for example, would be romantically attracted to two genders or sexes. So, you know, and some aromantic asexuals, those that lack romantic attraction as well as sexual attraction, by and large, they're known for not wanting to be in a relationship or wanting to date. But there are aromantic asexuals that want to date. There's aromantic asexuals that come in my actual dating groups that do want a relationship. They do want to date and get into a relationship. So dating in the UK, for example, is usually a prequel to getting into a relationship, right? So you'd meet up, maybe you do video dating, maybe you meet up in person, and you know, this is a time where you get to know the person, you get to discuss like the type of relationship you're looking for, you get to know more about the person, where they're coming from, what their goals, ambitions, and dreams are for the future. And you just get to generally, you know, find out more about them, and if you might be good for it for a relationship. You might just end up being friends with that person or stay in front of them. You might not end up in a relationship with that person, right? So dating's like the kind of like place where you'd in a relationship with that person, right? So dating's like the kind of like place where you'd find out and discover if you would be suitable for a relationship. It's like an exploratory meetup, basically, where that's virtually or meeting in person. I'd always recommend you meet someone virtually first in a video call before meeting up with them in person, because they're not suitable for you for a relationship. When you meet them in person, you kind of wasted your time and you're sat there looking really like, oh my god, Like, how can I just leave this person now in this middle of a conversation, really, that I'm not attracted to them or I'm feeling uncomfortable? Whereas you can end the conversation a lot quicker on video call, and you can obviously block them if you need to, if they turn out to not be good, and you haven't wasted all that travel time on getting tickets for trains or buses or wasted your petrol money. Right, you can just get to know a person a lot better by that. And, you know, it actually puts you in a much more comfortable position. If you video chat with them a few times before you meet them in person, it kind of like makes you feel more comfortable around them. Usually, if you don't feel more comfortable around them, that's a warning sign that you shouldn't actually be in a relationship with them and don't need to meet up with them in person, you know? So it's very, very good way of finding out and exploring the situation. And so asexuals can date other asexuals of any gender that they are attracted to and want to date. And they can also date sexuals. Now, you might think, why would an asexual want to date a sexual person? Well, asexuality is a sexual orientation that's a lack of sexual attraction, but it's also a spectrum of different types of asexuals within that. And so, for example, there's someone like me who's personally sex repulsed asexual. I do not want sex. I have had it in the past. I've been sex free 10 years this November, which I'm really proud of. But I don't want it again. I do not want sexual intercourse again, right? And I don't like any types of sex these days, right? I've done all that in the past, right? If I wanted to do that again, if I wanted to change my mind, I'm not going to ever stop being asexual, because you can't make yourself be asexual or not. It's something you naturally are. I'm not sexually attracted to anyone, right? But if I wanted to have sex again, if I wanted to choose to do that, despite being asexual, then I would choose to do that, right? I'm not the type of person that is scared of having sex. If I wanted to have it again, I would, but I don't. I've been happily sex-free 10 years in November. I'm very proud of that, right? I do love being sex-free. So thanks for the thumbs up. Lots of love on YouTube, that is. So I really appreciate you. So, you know, I'm a sex repulsed asexual. So does that mean to say I could never date a sexual person? Well, I could date a sexual, although if I'm looking for a long-term committed relationship, it's less likely it's going to work out if they do need sex, because obviously the difficulty is, if they really need sex in a relationship, then they're likely to cheat on me. They're likely to be unhappy with the situation. I can't meet their needs. If they're not open to just masturbating, then, you know, that would be a very difficult situation, right? If you're looking for a long-term committed relationship, you need to be with someone who's like you in that way. If you're sex repulsed asexual, I'm not sex repulsed for other people. If other people have lots of sex and they enjoy it, it's consensual, I'm happy for them to have that in their life. I'm only sex repulsed for me, which I think is quite unusual sometimes, right? But sometimes I do get like, that's a bit too much talking about sex. And other times I'm absolutely fine about it, right? I've got to be finishing my Asexual Guide to Sex book this coming month. So it's very important I do that and get it finished, right? And so, yeah, you know, but I could date sexuals. I have dated sexuals, just I haven't been able to have a long-term sustainable relationship with someone who is in fact sexual since I found out I was asexual, because I don't have sex. Hello, who's on my... Oh, hi, Liam. Hello, beautiful Sandra. No one needs sex. It's really overrated. Oh, thank you, Liam. I've just got my iPad in the way of your speech, so I've just had to lift it up on Facebook, and they're like, what are you doing? I've only shown half my face. But now I'm back. Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, I don't want sex again, you know, but if I did, then I would do that again, you know. I'm not got any sexual inhibitions, as it were, you know. So lots of people, they have sexual inhibitions, they have fears and worries. I used to get fearful of being around sexuals, and I can still get like that if I think they're really after sex and they're likely to pounce on me, obviously. But because I've got strong barriers in place with sexuals now, I don't really have that so much, right? So it's not it's not a case of I fear sex as in I fear it as in I couldn't have it because I'm so fearful of it. It's a case of I'm just repulsed by it. I don't like it. I don't feel the need for it in my life, especially sexual intercourse. It's just not interesting for me. I like the kissing aspect, right? And I used to like some touching as well, much more than sex. I wasn't really into it, but I can fully function and do that stuff. It's just, it's not really me. It doesn't really feel right, you know. It's just, well, when I say don't feel right, it was okay at the time, but it's kind of like I've moved on and I'm happy to be sex free, right? For me, it's great, you know, because you don't have to worry about pregnancy and all that rubbish, because I still have kids if I wanted to, but I don't want kids. So, you know, it's just a lot of hassle, and it's just something I don't enjoy. Like, in comparison to, like, you know, like kissing, it's just like, it doesn't even come close. I just love kissing so much, you know. And so, you know, asexuals can date sexuals, right? But there's a lot of different types of asexuals. So there's the grey end of the asexual spectrum, where those asexuals are people who do experience sexual attraction under limited, rare, or specific circumstances, or they do experience it not enough to want to act on it. So some of those grey asexuals would not mind having sex in a relationship, would be okay with having it. Maybe they don't want it as frequently as a sexual person does. Or maybe they just, some of them do actually want sex. I was doing a poll in my grey asexual and demisexual dating group and asking people, thanks for the thumbs up, lots of love to you, asking people who are grey and demisexual in my grey asexual and demisexual dating groups if they would want, you know, if they would be open to having sex, if they would want it. And there was a few people who said yes, they would want sex after emotional bond has been formed, for example. Some of them said they would want it anyway. Others were like saying that you know, that they wouldn't have it. Others were saying they might have it very infrequently, like once a month or something like that. So there's a lot of different types of asexual. So an asexual person can actually date who they want, but it doesn't mean to say the outcome is going to be from that dating is going to be what they want, right? But, you know, like I said, some asexuals are open to having sex, some asexuals are just not, right? So it depends. But there are few rare sexuals in the world that can actually live without sex. And of course, there's things like asexuality is not a medical condition, right? It's a genuine sexual orientation that is a lack of sexual attraction. But there are people with medical conditions that can't have sex, or they've got a disability that prevents them from having sex. So obviously, asexuals who are sex repulsed, who don't need sex, could date those people. They could date a disabled person if they got on well, if they were compatible in all the other areas, you know, who, you know, couldn't have sex. If they're a sex repulsed asexual, they could date someone who is impotent, for example. But don't forget, you know, like, it is possible that some people might not be impotent forever, you know? So you've got to think about these things. So asexuals could date, you know, you can date whatever religion or race or whatever you want. But again, that's to do with personal preference, you know? Like, some people, you know, like, if your religions are completely different, you might not be able to date that person because you've got such strong views against the other person's religion, or, you know, that type of thing, that you just wouldn't get on well in a date. So it's really up to the asexual person who they date, and if they can get someone who wants to date them as well, you know? But just because someone's asexual doesn't limit them to actually just dating one certain type of person. They can date who they want, right? But it's more likely to to develop into a serious, good relationship if it's someone who's compatible in terms of how much sex you do and do not want, in terms of hobbies, in terms of interests, in terms of where you see the relationship going, in terms of your long goals and visions together, in terms of, you know, like, how much you want to grow together, right? Because I want a guy for a relationship who want to grow with me as a person, as an individual, but as a team, who wants to be my bestest ever friend, who wants to hang out with me, who wants to talk to me, who wants to be in my company, who enjoys being with me. You know, that's really important for me, as well as, you know, fitting all my working, like, fitting obviously my YouTube show like this in, you know. It's very important for me that I'm here for you. You know, I don't want to get into a relationship and all of a sudden the guy gets weird that I'm doing my show for you, because that's not going to happen, right? I'm not going to allow someone to take over my life so that I wasn't doing this. They might even appear on my show one day. I'll be like, yeah, no, I have to do it so you can come on with me, or you can wait in the other room, or you can go home. But you know what I mean? It's very important I still do this for asexuals. You know, it's my life purpose is to get asexuality recognised as a sexual orientation throughout the globe, so that no asexual has to live in fear of ridicule ever again. Obviously, I educate asexuals to be comfortable and confident with their asexuality so they can stop living in fear and be who they truly are, and stop worrying about what other people think. That's what this show's all about. So, I intend to be here for the long haul. I love doing this show. I feel so at home with you. So, it's very important. And you need to get someone who, when you date, you need to think like a date is, like I said, in the UK, it's a prequel to a relationship. Now, I think some people in the USA, I think they actually call dating, when you're actually in a relationship, they still call it dating, which I'd never come across that term before in any other context other than dating is a prequel to being in a relationship. It's like the investigation stage where you're both investigating each other to find out if you'd be suitable for a relationship or not, right? And so that is a really good thing to do with any type of person, gender or sexual orientation you're thinking about getting into a relationship with. It's very important that you do the dating stage in order to find out if that person's suitable. I mean, I love video dating for the simple reason is you can find out a lot quicker if you'd be suitable for a relationship or not, without wasting time meeting up and spending money out that maybe you don't really have to meet someone you might not even get on with. So if in this day and age, you should be video dating right before you start dating in person. But there is no limits and no restrictions on who an asexual can actually date. It's up to the asexual person. I really like online dating, to be honest. For a serious committed relationship, obviously I would want the person with me, to be in person with me. And, and I hope one day to find a guy who's really serious and committed to me. Hello on Facebook, because someone's watching on Facebook. Lots of love to you, right? So, to me, it's like, for me, I have a preference, don't I? I have a preference for foreign guys, younger foreign guys. I have a preference particularly for Indian guys. So for me personally, that's my personal preference. Aesthetically, that's what I like, But that's my personal preference. And I still, I've still had dates in the past with different types of people, from different guys from different ethnic backgrounds and stuff like that. I've had dates with British guys, not just foreign guys. And I haven't I haven't actually been on an in-person date yet with an Indian guy. I've had video dates though. So yeah, I just know that it's fine for asexual to date who they want to date, but just bear in mind, what do you want the end goal to be of dating? Do you just want to go out for it and hang out with the person? Do you want to actually kiss and cuddle the person on a date and that be it? Or what's your purpose on the date? So whenever you're dating, you should have a question in your mind like, why am I doing this? This should be your first question. So although this is a video about who can asexuals date, I want you to get really, really think before you have a date with someone, who do you want to date and why? This is very important. So although asexuals can date who they want, in order to be strategic about your dating, not just willy-nilly, you need to ask yourself the question of why you want to date in the first place and who, like what type of person would you like to date, right? Or are you just going to want to date anyone? I don't recommend wanting to date anyone, right? It's a waste of time. If you've got nothing in common with that person, not likely to ever get into a relationship with that person, unless you just want to meet up and you want a cuddle or a kiss, or in sexual cases, they probably would want sex with you, right? But if you're an asexual person who's maybe got great areas and you just think, fine, I just want to go out for a date, I want to meet a guy, I want to have some kisses or some cuddles, bear in mind they'll probably want sex and you'll have to make it clear you're not doing that if you don't want that, and then go home again, right? You could do that, right? It's up to you who you date and why you date them. But before you date anyone, I would always say, have an end goal in mind, right? If you just want to cuddle someone and know it's not going to go anywhere, then you need to pretty much say that to them, not make them think that you're going to get into a possible relationship with them, right? If you're just going to meet up to kiss with someone and you're like, well, we're not suitable for relationship, we can meet up to kiss, then you'd have to know that. But one person's going to have feelings for the other in that scenario, right? You can't just have someone where, oh, I'm just going to come and cuddle you or kiss you without usually having some sort of feeling behind it, right? So most people who are especially not aromantic, so those that are aromantic asexuals, they lack romantic attraction, they lack sexual attraction. But those who aren't aromantic, so those who are romantic, for example, are much more likely to have feelings associated with kissing or intimacy of more than wanting to be someone's friend or hang out with them, So an aromantic person, for example, might just want to hang out with a person. Aromantic sexual person, that's someone who's not asexual. You can get an aromantic sexual person, someone lacks romantic attraction, lacks lacks romantic attraction but doesn't lack sexual attraction. So aromantic sexual, they lack romantic attraction but they're sexually attracted. An aromantic asexual person is someone who lacks romantic attraction and they lack sexual attraction, right? But when you're an aromantic sexual person, right, you could just want to meet someone on a date for sex because you don't experience romantic attraction, but you still need the sex because you're highly sexually attracted to people, right? I've come across quite a few aromantic sexuals like this. They need the sex. That's a need of theirs, right? Whereas an aromantic asexual person would rather like someone for companionship if they're going to date and someone to hang out with, watch Netflix, but not have sex and chill, right? So, you come in from different angles. So you have to understand the purpose of why you're dating, what type of person you want to date, what you want the outcome to be. So basically, what, who, what do you want the date? What do you want? Why do you want it? Who do you want it with? What, why, who? Right? If you just remember it, those are 3 W's. You can't go far wrong. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful and insightful. If you've got any questions, comments, please post them down below. Love to know what you think of this video, if you found it helpful at all. And like I said, just because someone doesn't want sex doesn't mean to say they can't date. And, you can date who you want when you want, right? There's no restrictions. You don't have to have sex in a relationship. You don't have to have sex on a date. And if someone's expecting sex with you on a first date, whatever sexual orientation you are, unless you specifically agreed to meet up for that, then that is not a good thing, right? There are some people who are highly sexually charged, who are not usually asexual, and they just want to meet up for sex. And that can be female or male, whatever gender, right? There's a stereotype that most people think that's just guys. There's probably more proportion of guys that want to do that. But actually, there's still women that just do need the sex because they're very highly sexually driven as well. So don't make the mistake of thinking otherwise, So anyway, yes, but asexuals can date who they want, whatever gender they want, and they can still want to be in a relationship, right? Most of the time they'll want it without the sex, right? It depends on the asexual, where they fall on the spectrum. So always ask them, right? You should always be asking when you get into a scenario of dating, what sexual orientation are you? Like, what gender are you attracted to? Like this type of thing. What romantic orientation are you? So, basically find out who they're attracted to and in what way they're attracted to them. So for me personally, I need a guy who's a heteromantic asexual, someone who's romantically attracted to the opposite gender or sex. Me, for example, I'm female, so I'd be the opposite to them. And I really want someone who's romantically attracted. So I would be a heteromantic or a demi-romantic, or it could be a biromantic or pan-romantic person, right? But someone who'd be attracted to my gender and be romantically attracted to me as my gender, right? So potentially, so that's where I'm actually coming from, if you know what I mean. So you have to work out what gender you want to be attracted to you, and like where you want them to be a romantic person, non-romantic person, when you'd happily date a sexual person or not, what they think about it. And you have to be very upfront. Do not mislead anyone. Do not mislead sexuals and pretend that you are sexual. We get a lot of sexuals pretending to be asexual, saying they're fine with not having sex. But yeah, later on down the line, they'll change their mind on that, right? You also do not want to be not telling a sexual person that you're asexual, because that's not fair to the sexuals, right? We need to be fair. Sexuals need to be fair to us. If they need sex in a relationship, they can't live without it, then they need to be upfront. And then if we don't like sex, we need to go out their life because we're not suitable, right? Similarly, we need to be honest with the sexual person. Say, hey, I'm asexual. And if you don't like sex, put your hand up and say, I don't like sex. I don't want it. I don't need it. I'm not ever having it. Then they have the choice. It's fair to both parties if you be absolutely open and honest about what you want in a relationship, about, and if you're a sex repulsed asexual, you should be telling the sexual person up front. If they reject you or don't like you, it's much better to find out in the very early stages than it is 6 months down the line when you've fallen deeply in love with them. You've got this deep emotional connection with them. You totally adore them and love them. And, you know, now you're stuck with all these feelings and emotions and they can't go anywhere because you're just going to end up getting heartache and pain or pushing yourself and forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do to save the relationship, right? It's no good. It's not healthy. So please think carefully, but be honest about your asexuality, right? Why would you want to give your body or share your bed or be intimate in any single way with a person that you can't actually be open and honest about what your sexual orientation is and how you feel about things, right? Having sex or kissing or whatever is, you know, really intimate. I mean, I can kiss guys in clubs that I'm not even interested in having a relationship with, right? So you can do stuff like that, but I tell them I'm not having sex. I'm not interested in sex, right? So if I kiss them, that's kind of it. But obviously in clubs, you might kiss first and then say that afterwards because you're not actually going on a date. You're not actually saying you're looking for a relationship. So obviously there's certain grey areas, but I tell them, you know, if I'm kissing them, and then I usually tell them, like, unless it's just a quick kiss and off they go, that if they're interested in me, I tell them I'm not interested in sex, or I'll just kiss you, but I'm not having sex with you. You know, I'm not that type of person. So it's always better to be upfront and honest, right, about what, be intentional. Intentional dating is the way to go, right? Because when you're intentional, right, then that's when magic can happen and you can filter out the people that are no good for you and get through to the ones that are more likely to be better for you. Anyway, I'm going to go now. It's lovely to see you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Liam, for being in chat on YouTube. Lots of love. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Asexualize My Asexual Life. Subscribe to YouTube and hit that great big bell icon to get notified of every time I go live like now, post a new video. And if you're on Facebook, thank you for whoever's watching on Facebook. Lots of love to you. Don't forget to like the Asexualize page and to hit the follow button. And make sure underneath this video, this live video, you also hit the follow live video. So actually under this video or any other live videos that I've done in the past on Facebook, you just go under the videos and you subscribe and I should come up in your watch page on Facebook. So anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you for now. Thank you so much. Don't forget to always embrace your inner ace, and I'll see you on the next video live stream. Take care and lots of love. Bye. Bye.